My name is Hank O'Connor. I'm a detective living on the outskirts of Chicago, Illinois. I've been a detective for around 13 years and was regarded as one of the best in my field. March 15th, 2006 was a routine day. A few files of paperwork to fill out, one missing persons case on my desk, and emails about upcoming meetings. I got home at around 10 p.m. I walked in, set my jacket on the rack near the door, and proceeded to go into the kitchen and fix myself a late dinner. It was after my dinner that I received a phone call. Not uncommon, but to my surprise, it was the Chief of Police, Tim. "Hank, I need you to come back to the station as soon as you can. It's urgent." I was surprised. Tim and I had been friends ever since I was fresh out of the academy, and I had never heard him sound so scared. He was a stubborn bastard, as tough as nails, but he had a good heart and did his job as best as he could, so to hear him clearly shaken up sent a chill down my spine. I grabbed my keys and my jacket and hurried out the door. I got to the station within 5 minutes and walked into Tim's office. No one was there. I walked back out and one of the officers saw me. "Hey, Hank," he said cheerfully. "If you're looking for Chief Brooks, he's down in one of the rooms." I nodded him a thanks and made my way down there. It was strange. Was he needing me for an interrogation? I never do these unless I've been assigned to the case. For me to be called in, something was wrong in a big way. As I walked in, Tim got up from his chair and stretched out his hand. I grabbed it and pulled him in for a hug. "Good to see you, Hank," he said, smiling. "But I didn't call you down here to chat." He gestured toward the room. Through the glass, I saw a man, looking to be in his early 40s. He had a well-kept black mustache above his lip, an old-fashioned haircut, and well-tailored black suit. "So what the hell do we have here? Is this the lawyer, or is this just a special occasion for him?" I asked him, chuckling to myself. "Well," Tim started, "we found him about an hour ago. He was in the house of what appears to be a murder-suicide. A 15-year-old killed his parents and 2 brothers with his dad's hunting rifle before turning it on himself." "Jesus," I thought to myself. "So where does our friend come in?" I asked. "Well, that's the part we can't understand. None of the evidence that's come up so far indicates this man was even in the house during the event, or him even entering the building. No sign of forced entry, no sign of entry other than the son going in and out of different rooms. We found this man sitting on the couch in the living room next to the father and the son who committed the murders. The 2 brothers were found in their shared room and the wife in the couple's room." "So where do I fit into this?" I asked, puzzled. "Well, he put up no resistance to the arrest, and outside of stating he doesn't want a lawyer, he has said only one thing. He wants to talk to you." I stood there in shock. I had never seen this man before, and I wasn't a well-known detective. Sure, I was good at my job and respected by my colleagues, but I haven't been involved in any huge well-known cases that involve the public or done any interviews with the press. How the hell does he know me? And why does he want to talk to me? "I know this is strange," Tim said wearily. He placed his hand on my shoulder. "I normally wouldn't ask you to do this, as I know the situation may hit a little close to home, but I need to find out what's going on, especially now that he's asked for you. Can you do this for me?" I could see this was weighing heavily on him. It looked like he hadn't slept in days, and now with some strange man asking to be interrogated by me, I didn't know what else I could do but say yes. After I agreed, I slowly walked into the interrogation room and closed the door gently behind me. The man kept looking forward. He didn't even acknowledge my presence. When I went to sit down, a chill set in the room. I felt like I was in a freezer, and swore I saw my breath. I sat down across the metal table from the man and looked at the folder that had been left there by the interrogators for me. Inside were photos of the crime scene and notes from the CSI and others involved. I didn't know where to start with questioning. Do I just come in hard asking him what he wants with me? Do I ask about the crime scene and his connection to it? I decided to be cautious, but I had to sate my curiosity. "I was told you asked to see me," I said, as calmly as I could, but I felt as though my voice quivered. The man's eyes moved to meet mine. It was the first time I'd seen him move at all. "I wanted to meet you face to face," he said quietly. He had a soft, baritone voice that was silky smooth. He showed no signs of fear or discomfort. He sat and spoke like it was a regular conversation. "I don't believe we've officially met yet," I started. "Oh, I'm well aware of who you are, Detective O'Connor. You are the person I am most excited to see." He leaned forward slightly, placing both elbows on the table and bringing his hands together, resting them on his chin. "You see," he began, "I came to ask you a few questions." "What kind of questions?" "To start," he said, smiling, "do you know who died this evening?" "The Johnson family. A homicide-suicide. Mind explaining to me why you were found at the scene?" He smiled sheepishly, giving me a half-hearted shrug. "What can I say? I've always been one to love a bit of rebellion. You see, that young boy, he just wanted to be understood. To be loved, not treated like dirt. Surely you can understand that, Detective." "Sure. Doesn't explain why he felt the need to kill his parents or brothers, now does it?" "Perhaps." He seemed to lose himself in a train of thought, twirling his fingers in a circle around each other, his eyes almost appearing to gloss over. He soon snapped out of his would-be trance and looked at me with cold eyes. "Do you want kids, Hank?" "No," I replied coldly. I wasn't in the mood for games and damn sure didn't want to discuss my own life. "Your father beat those dreams out of you, did he?" I felt a hot rage burn inside me. He had said it so casually. How the hell did he know about my father, or anything about me? I stood up and slammed my hands down on the table. "Alright, listen to me. Either you explain yourself as to how you know me and why you were at the crime scene, or I'll..." "You'll what, Hank? Kill me? Torture me? Interrogate me? Which you're doing such a lovely job at, by the way. What can you possibly do to me, Hank? Let's not pretend you're the one holding the cards here." I stood there, lost. This man knew me, things about my past. Who was he? Now, he said, waving his hand to change the subject. "Let's discuss the glaring issue. Why was I there? Well, you see, God may work in mysterious ways, but so do I." "So what? You're telling me you're God?" "Some would say so. Others would use less sentimental terms than names. It doesn't matter. What matters is while God may save you from sin and love and cherish you, it does not absolve you from your poor choices." He seemed to be getting more and more agitated as time went on, but his voice never raised in volume. "You see, Hank, you may think yourself a man of God," he said, now chuckling, "what with your cute little cross necklace you wear every day, like some altar boy hoping the priest will take pity on him and spare him for the torments and atrocities they're known for. But deep down, you and I know, this homicide-suicide as you call it, you wish you had the balls to do it all those years ago, don't you?" I don't know what you're talking about," I stammered, horrified, and quickly looking back at the glass for Tim, some form of guidance and comfort, only to see my reflection staring scared back at me. I looked back at the man. He was standing now. The handcuffs. My God, he wasn't wearing handcuffs anymore. He glared at me, his eyes as black and empty as the night sky. He now spoke with the most haunting combination of fury and peacefulness. "When your father died all those years ago, what did you say it was again? A hunting accident?" I was dumbstruck and horrified. I hadn't told anyone about this. I had moved away from my hometown when I was 16 to live with my grandparents here in Chicago, but I had never told anyone. The stranger walked around the table slowly, his fingers gently caressing the side of the table, making an excruciating sound as the metal slid across his skin. The room seemed to intensify the sound tenfold. The stranger spoke again, this time with only anger and hatred in his voice. "You just couldn't take the pain anymore, could you? You had enough, so you decided that hunting trip the two of you took would be your last. Oh, poor Hank O'Connor, the poor bastard child of a whore and a lumberjack. What a sob story. You just couldn't take Mommy leaving you with him, could you? You hated him, and he hated how you reminded him of her, so you decided Daddy had to pay for it." The rage inside me welled back up as I grabbed my gun at my hip. "Alright, that's enough. Get on the ground with your hands on your head." "Or what?" he screamed, with what sounded like two distinct voices, one lower than the other. "Are you going to kill me, Hank? Like you killed your father all those years ago, when you took his rifle as he went to skin a rabbit and you pushed it in his mouth and pulled the trigger? How you told the police he had just forgotten the safety was off, and he was cleaning it when he stopped to yawn. How pathetic is that? Stupid bastards bought the lie, because who would think that a 10-year-old boy would kill his old man? If only they'd known what you were, and how much of a pussy you were. As you only cried because you didn't have the balls to shoot yourself as well." I had the gun pointed at him, but I couldn't pull the trigger. Something was holding me in place. I couldn't move. I was terrified. My greatest regret and mistake, said right in front of me, in front of my best friend. I just want the pain to stop, I said, shaking. That bastard deserved what he got. I was crying at this point. The stranger then let out the most haunting and what I can only explain as maniacal laughter. Oh, you poor thing, he said, mocking me. You couldn't do it then. Why don't you do it now, Hank? Tears running down my eyes, I gripped my gun tighter than ever, it wobbling loosely in my hands. Pull the trigger, son. That was my father's voice. I was grounded in fear as I pulled the trigger. The stranger stood in place. Red began seeping through the white of his dress shirt. He looked down nonchalantly and nodded to himself. He calmly looked up at me. I was still shaking at this point, confused and emotionally drained. He spoke to me again, smiling softly. Be seeing you. He then fell to the ground, dead. Officers broke down the door, and 2 officers grabbed me and slapped cuffs on my wrists. Tim walked in shortly after, pale as snow. Hank, what the hell did you do? I was ashamed. My best friend in the world, my only friend, looking down on me. I'm sorry, Tim. I couldn't hear any more. The officers began escorting me out. The last thing I saw before I left the room was my reflection, with the stranger standing behind me, giving me a big smile. I was put on trial and found guilty of first-degree murder, and was given 15 years in prison with a chance of early parole. I served 9 years and was released in August of 2015. I was also recommended a psychiatrist to deal with the leftover trauma of childhood. That night still remains with me to this day. Every night I lie in bed, I can feel his black eyes staring at me. I can hear his voice, both of them, as he read me like a book and took years off my life. But that's not the worst part. Every time I look in the mirror, every time I look at any reflective surface, I see him, even if just for a second, with that same sinister smile.